Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Board Game Heaven Talks Accessories. My name is Raymond, and in this video I'm going to talk about the puzzle by the Dicetroyers, which is a universal and modular tray system that you can use for storing your components for any game you want. And I will show you how it is put together, how it works, and I'll share my final thoughts on the product as well. Dicetroyers were kind enough to send me this to review. And before I begin, I would like to ask you to please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It really helps to grow my channel. Most of the views I get are from non-subscribers, so please do hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you'd like to support what I do financially, there's a Patreon page as well. The link is in the description below, and you can do so for as little as just €1 per month. And in return, you'll get early access to all of my videos, access to some Patreon exclusive posts, and your name in the credits as a supporter. All right, let's get started. All right, so this is the puzzle by the Dicetroyers from Italy. And yeah, it comes in a big package. It's 3 sheets of MDF or HDF laser cut sheets, and you can just open it right here. It's just sticky, rather sticky. All right, there we go. And it comes with a couple of sheets of instructions. Although I don't think it will be very difficult. This is what it will look like. These are the different kind of trays that you will find. There's small trays, medium and large ones, and long ones. And they're basically they double up in size every time. So the small ones are these. And if you put 2 of those next to each other, you get this size, and that size. And you put 2 of those next to each other, you get this size and this size. Or if you put them behind each other, you get a long one, and that's that size. And that's why everything will always kind of fit in a modular fashion. They also have acrylic lids if you need them to put little components in there. You don't want them to fall out, as depicted here. So that's pretty good. I'll just put that to the side there, and let's have a look at these instructions. Let's see. So this is how you build the long tray. This is for the small tray with the divider. This is for the medium tray with the divider, which looks like it will hold cards. So that's that. Oh, it's double-sided. Here is the long one. So it's 7 pages. Right, this is 4 and 3. This is 1 and 2. So here we have a medium and a large tray as well. 1, 2, 3. And then we have 5 and 6 here. So yeah, this tray, you kind of just have a little booklet. All right, and it looks simple enough. It's basically just every time a bottom and 4 sides and a couple of reinforcements, I guess, or that's probably to stack them, so you can stack them, I think. We'll see how that works once we have it all put together. So let's start with a small one then, because you know the idea is basically the same every time. Let's see. So we gently take off all the pieces. Of course, you can just press them out, and they suggest some sanding paper to, have any rough edges, to sand them down if necessary. And then you put it together, and you can use some glue. So I've got some standard wood glue here. I've got an old brush that I don't use for anything else but gluing. And I have a little hammer with a hard plastic and a softer rubber side to gently tap everything together if necessary. I just keep all those ready whenever I build these. So for this, I'm going to need from this sheet, so let me just see if I can find that one. It's not this, so I'll just put that up there. Keep these little things to the side. I guess it's this, right? That looks to be this sheet right here. It also says PZ 15B, puzzle 15B, and this also says 15B. So this is probably 15, this is C, and this is A. So they're also numbered. But again, it's pretty simple to recognize what you need. So then you gently press them out and they come out very easily, as you can see. So there you go. You just wiggle it a bit if you need. All right, and that's that already. Just a small tray. All right. I guess I don't need any of these bits. There we go. All right, so we have the center divider right here. That goes in first, like that. And then we have the sides, and they have these nice etched in illustrations, if you will. So make sure to keep those on the outside if you like them. Otherwise, you can always put them on the inside, of course. And this same thing. And these actually look like they are through and through. Yep, there you go. So you can press those out and you have this kind of logo there. All right. These were already fallen out. So yeah, if you want to get rid of this, you could also do it with a, but yeah, sanding paper is recommended. I kind of usually do this, but it's not really necessary. It's very flat. So yeah, looks good to me. That one too, yeah, this looks really smooth. So yeah, you have these little connections where they were on the sprue, but yeah, I can hardly catch them with the knife. So yeah, don't really even need to sand them, in my opinion. So since they've been lasered like this, they are pretty loose. So yeah, glue is necessary. So let's start with that. Hopefully I have some glue left. This is a bit dirty here. There you go. All right, so I'll put some glue on the bottom. Oh boy, there's not a whole lot left here. There we go. And I'll put that in here. There you go. And that's basically how you build all of these. Just follow the instructions. It's a very simple. And you know what? I'll put a little bit of glue here as well. Just a few dots. Oops. All right. So that goes together very easily, very simple. You don't even need to use the hammer. You don't need to use force. So I guess this goes this way. So the triangle points down. That goes in so easy. Yeah, and you can see this side has a little raised area here and a little indentation here. So that's where they stack. And I'm guessing the bigger ones have those as well, of course, in the same spots. So you can easily stack them and they won't slide off. And it's amazing how easy that fits. Just put it in. I don't even need the hammer. So yeah, that's already the first tray. So all I need to do is let that dry. And these notches here on both sides are for the acrylic lids. If you put something in and you want to cover that up. So yeah, that's all you need to do. That's how you put them together. And you continue with the other trays, and they're basically the same, the way you put them together. Put in the divider first, put on the sides, make sure you have the illustrations on the outside, and that's it. And the bigger ones here, you can see, have one center divider, three smaller dividers that go on top of that, and then you do the outsides, and then you have your tray. Easy peasy. So yeah, I'll just continue putting these together. Should I find something that requires a little bit of extra attention, I'll show you, and otherwise I'll show you the assembled product and I'll give you my thoughts. So some of these trays have these little side walls, if you will, these little stands here, which I guess have two functions. One of them might be stacking. I'm not sure though if that is necessary for stacking trays on top of each other, because this side here with the indentations kind of does that. But maybe they just made those to keep the cards in the middle better. Hopefully sleeved cards, because this size might just be a tad too large for the medium-sized cards. So that might be the reason why these are in. I'll have to try it. I'll put some cards in later. But I do recommend adding these to the walls first before assembling the tray, because that makes it just a whole lot easier. It's no problem to put them in afterwards, but it's just much easier to have this flat on the table, put in these dividers, and then put the whole thing together. All right, let's continue. Okay, so I've put everything together. Wasn't too hard, was pretty easy overall. And I've looked up a couple of games that you could potentially use this with from my collection, because this is a modular system. You could use, you know, basically these trays for any box it fits in, and that has, you know, items that fit into the different components. So this is Small Islands by Lucky Duck Games, for example, which comes with a very simple but nicely illustrated insert. But it basically just has, I'll show you, it has one slot at the top for all the tiles, and just a big slot at the bottom with a bunch of Ziploc bags for all the other components and tokens. So that takes a bit of time setting up, taking all of those things out of all these Ziploc bags. You know, that is a hassle, and it is time consuming, especially also after the game. You have to put them all back again. So having an insert for it would be nice, but there currently is no insert specifically for Small Islands. So this puzzle could be a possible solution for that. So I tried it. So I took this tray, which basically has the big empty tray in the middle that normally would house this smaller component tray that fits exactly inside of that. But you can, of course, optionally leave that out. And this fits exactly all the tiles except for the special tiles, but these are the regular tiles. I made 2 stacks, and that fits in there really nicely. And there's one single tile here. I think that's a start player tile, which also they fit in these card trays. They just fit in a single card tray. So I could have put them here as well, but of course this has an opening here for the cards, so these would slide out. So I opted to put them in the middle. But of course, if it's in the box, you could still put something in there if you want to. So I put this in the box first. Then I took this small card tray, and I divided all the different types of cards in here. So we have these special cards, which I haven't used even. I don't really know what they're for yet. We have these cards, and then we have these cards which you use during the game for scoring, and these cards also for scoring to see what kind of things get you points. So you divide those, and I put those in the bottom tray, and that is cool because you can just take this out and put it on the table and you're ready to go. You just shuffle the cards and you're done. So you don't have to take them out of multiple Ziploc bags. Then I had, I had this smaller component tray, which I filled with the 5, 10 and 20 point tokens. So I just put that next to this. I have one tray that I'm not using. I could put smaller cards in here as well, but there's not that many in the game, so I just use that to fill the room. There's a tray for the bigger cards here. So for these cards, which are also used for determining how you score and the number of points you get from that. So I put that here, and that fits nicely in the width or in the length of the box. You just have some extra space here. So you might want to fill that out with something if you really want to make it fit the box. Then I had another tray with the single point tokens and all of these these compass tokens. So I put that here, and you can stack that on top of this, which fits nicely. And then I had technically again 2 card trays, as you can see. And I put these ship tiles in here and these double-sided tiles in here. And I just put that here. And as you can see, that sits almost exactly flush with the lid. It just has like a millimeter of room, which is good for the rule book, of course. So you have that, and then I have this final tray where I put all the different color houses for the different players and their colored tokens as well. So you can also just take that out of the box, put it on the table, and you're ready to go. So that saves with the setup and the teardown time, and that leaves me with this tray, which I'm not using and didn't fit in like this, or otherwise I could have used that as a spacer, but didn't. And this, of course, because that's supposed to go in there, but I put the tiles in there, so I'm left with those. And that's basically it. So you can put all the other things, the rule book and everything on top, and you have everything in the box. Another example of a bigger box with inner measurements of about 11 inches and let's say 1/3 of an inch, or 28.7 millimeters in both directions. It's a square box. Is Frutti di Mare by Black Box Adventures. And this game has a rather large box. It has a simple insert like this. So yeah, there's not much to that insert. But you can use your puzzle trays to make something out of that. So I've put all of the different players. It's a bit dark because the sun is suddenly shining very brightly. Put all the player clips for the standees, for these, in these trays. Put the pearls in here, the dice in there, and that all fits really nicely. And then you can decide, you know, you could put this in here, for example. So that's one of these, but we don't have any cards in this game, so you don't actually need this or this. But we have this, which you can put in, which has all these money tokens and more of these pearls. This is the deluxe edition, had these. The regular edition had the cardboard ones. And that's really all you need. And you could, for example, just use this old insert just to keep it centered and put this in the middle, you know, and have the acrylic lids. If you have the acrylic lids, you could put them on top of these so that all of these components stay in their trays nicely. And then just put, you know, the bag with all the stands, the standees, just next to it. And then, of course, the rule books and everything on top of that. And the board on top of that, and just have that in your box. So you don't really need to fill out your box completely. You can just use a couple, but I would recommend getting the acrylic lids then, if you want to do that. So that's probably a good idea anyway, to grab those if you want them. And, you know, you could fill it up with some smaller. This doesn't fit, sadly. But you can do whatever you want. It's just a good idea to have the acrylic lids so that, you know, when the box is a little bit taller than these, which they usually are, you can keep your tokens safe. Yeah, there are a lot of trays for cards though, and not all games use that many cards. So yeah, you could just divide it up and just use 1 or 2 trays in several boxes and just use them that way. So that's also an option that you can do with the puzzle. And another example of a bigger square box. This is Rise of the Necromancers by Sore Loser Games. And this has an inner dimension of 29 by 29 centimeters, or almost 11.5 inch. Almost, not quite, in both directions. And you can use the big tray with the token box in the middle for the smaller gray tokens. I've put some of these minion tokens in the final. I didn't bother take them out of the Ziploc bag. Just put them in for the example. Put the dice over here. This is actually a card tray, but you could put your dice in there. Put these other tokens in here, and other minions in there, and just put that over here. They don't fit in this way, but you can put them in that way. I use this tray for these tokens, these resources. Then I took the double card tray, which is really good for this game because there's 2 stacks that you normally put on the board, but you can just put this entire thing on the side of the board and have your dungeon and your crafting cards sleeved even in here, so you can see how that fits sleeved, and that works really well for this game. And then I took, I really wanted a bigger token tray, but I took the card tray and I just put all these Necromancer gravestones, these pawns, and just put them in here because, yeah, in the Ziploc bag, because of course they have an opening on the side, they would just spill out. But I mean, if you want to put them anywhere, you could just throw in a box too. And then this is left for basically a spacer. I could put these in their box, in their bag, in here as well, like that. Or not, and use this one, actually, for the final stack of cards, which you take out. These are the Necromancers and the Apprentices and the 4 academies of necromancy, of dark magic. So I just stuffed that there, which left me with 1 set of tokens that I couldn't put anywhere anymore. I guess I could put them there instead of the dice, but it doesn't really matter. I just kept them in the Ziploc bag, which left me with just this one, plus the ones I put in the Frutti Mare box, which had a bigger tray with 8 slots that I could have used for these. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, well, 8, 9, but these I'd leave in here. So I could use 7 of the 8 slots in that one instead of this tray, but then I'd still have these Ziploc bags with the pawns, and that would have been a tray. I would have been, yeah, I would have puzzled because it was a tray that's basically this size, and I put it here. I could put it here, and then I'd have to put these somewhere else, but I'd save this tray. So I put the dice in here, then, you know, it's literally puzzling around, which is kind of fun, I have to admit. But yeah, I mean, this kind of works. I even have the second edition tiles from the expansion, which are the same as these, just these are fancier. Instead of the gray plain ones, we have these ones, which are a lot nicer. But the minions are exactly the same. So I still need to punch those. But yeah, and I have 2 boards, one from the first edition and one from the revised edition. So we got that with the expansion. So you basically only need 1 board. I'm going to put it in anyway. And then we have these player boards, which you just put on top, of course, together with these, like that. You kind of spread them out, rule book, and that's everything. And it even fits nicely and flush in the box if you ditch the original insert. So yeah, another game that you could possibly fill with the puzzle, and that leaves me with just this one, which I could just use for any game, put it on the table, game that has smaller cards, and just use it. So it is kind of versatile, but you need to figure out the measurements. Here's another game I thought I'd try some of these puzzle elements in. This is Riverside by Chili Fox Games, which is a box with an inside measurement of about 15 centimeters by 22 centimeters. And you can also see the inches here on the other side. And it just so happens that the long ones, these trays, fit in here. They just fit in here. It's a bit of a tight fit, but it's not pushing the box, so you can just put that in. And sadly, you can't put a second tray next to that, one of the bigger ones. That doesn't fit. So I took one of the smaller ones, put that in. You can't put it sideways, of course, that's the same measurement. But you can fill it up if you want to with this, and of course that'll move around. But yeah, that's a possibility what you can do. And then you can, these tiles just happen to fit in a card tray, and you could put the pencils in there If you want, this needs to go on top, of course. This doesn't fit anywhere. You can put the separate tokens in there if you want to. I put the dice in here, and then you'd have to put this on top and that on top, and that would fit in a box of this size. And yeah, so you kind of have to puzzle out what you want with your boxes and with your games. If there are games that you have that you think need an insert, I personally don't think this game really needs an insert that much. But just to demonstrate how that would fit in a box such as this. And then of course with the trays that you have left, you'd have these left here and this left. You could also, you know, still fill a box. You could use these in a smaller box, or, you know, a bigger, almost square box, or you could even make it too tall like this. So there's plenty of stuff you can do. You can use these in smaller game boxes if you want. But the key is that you'll need to measure out your boxes and then measure these and see what you can fit where. So I'll give you the measurements. I'm sure you can find them on the website. But just so you know, we have these tall trays here, these two, and they measure, let's see, that is about 8 centimeters wide. I think that's exactly 8 centimeters wide. So that's 3 inches and whatever that unit is, you call it, 1/8, I guess, of an inch. And then in the length, it is, well, yeah, it's exactly 22 centimeters, or 8, a little bit more than 8.5 inch. I would say 8 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/8 of an inch. So that's those trays. Then you have these, which of course fit in the width on 2 of these. So these will be 16 centimeters, or 6 2/8, or 1/4 of an inch. And in this, sorry for dropping, in this length it's 11 centimeters, or 4 and a little bit over 1/4 of an inch. So that's these 2 trays. And then this is of course half. So this is again 11 centimeters, and then half of the other. So that's 8 centimeters, or 3 inches and 1/8 of an inch for these 2. And these are of course the same. 2 of these are the same, and if you only use one of them, that's half of that again. So that will be 5.5 centimeters, 2 1/4 of an inch, or 1/8, 2 1/8. And this is again 8 and 3 and a little bit, about 1/8 of an inch. So there you have it. Those are the measurements. And yeah, it's literally a puzzle. You have to figure out which game you want to use this with, and then measure the box and see if this will work for you. All right, so my final thoughts on the puzzle modular insert system by the Dicetroyers. Well, first of all, it was very easy to assemble. It's just easy to put together. All you need is a little wood glue, and this just fits together very easily. So the components are good. The material is good. It's a nice, relatively lightweight HDF, I believe, laser cut wood. It looks nice. It has the nice illustrations kind of engraved on the sides, and it also has these icons etched in them. You have these triangles which basically tell you this is where you put separate components, and you also have these circular icons that tell you that this is for cards. And then you have the bigger and the smaller trays. You have the smallest ones, which are these for components and for small cards. And that works well, I think. And you can stack them as well with the modular system, which is pretty clever, I think. You have the double card trays and also the double component trays here, which are also the same size and stack. And they are, of course, exactly the size of two of these small ones, which you can stack as well. And it's nice that the design kind of just continues along the sides too. Then there's the trays for the medium, the big cards, the poker-sized cards, a bit of a standard size. And there's enough room in these for sleeved cards as well. So that works as well. It's also the same size as these. Then there's the bigger trays. So we have two trays in this size, one for a whole bunch of small cards and one for a whole bunch of tokens, and those of course also fit on top of each other and again are just as big as two of these medium sized trays. So you can kind of make all kinds of shapes with these, which is why they're modular. And then there's two of these longer trays, one for two stacks of large cards and one for smaller cards on the sides and components in the middle. And the middle tray has this separate little tray that you can take out, or you can just not use it and put bigger components in the center tray as well. So that is kind of optional, but it's nice that it's there. Also, I like that because of the modular system, you can kind of make a box that is as big as two of these. So you put these two next to each other, and then you can simply stack the smaller bits on top of that, like so, or even, you know, two of these smaller ones. They fit together, and you can stack them like this as well. And then you kind of have a squarish box. And you can make it as tall as you want. This is now two layers tall, but I can, of course, also take these and put them sideways on top like that. And then I have a rectangular tall stack of trays, but you can also rearrange it into a different combination, like kind of like this. Have a bigger lower tray, and you don't need to use all of these. You can just make it like this, so you have a big flat box, or you can put one of these on top wherever you want, of course. So let me just align that real quick here, and then you can take this, put that in the middle here with the smaller tray in the back, for example, and then put these two over here. And now I have a still rectangular but more squarish box that's two trays tall. So depending on what game you're looking to try this with, you can take some measurements. So there are a couple of pros and cons. So first of all, the modular system and the material, that's a nice pro. A con for me would be that if you need an insert for a specific game, I would always look first to see if there is a dedicated insert for that game available. Because if there is, that's always going to be better, because it will exactly fill the box and it will have dedicated trays for all the components, so you can take them out, put them on the table and get ready to play, which is the main reason why you would want an insert. Now this also does that, but it of course doesn't always fit the box exactly as you want it. There's going to be a little bit of wiggle room, and so, you know, if there is a insert for a specific game, I would always look for that first. And but if there isn't, if you have a game that has lots of components and there just isn't an insert on the market for it, then this might be your solution. And that's a pro, because of the modular design of this, you can kind of mix and match, puzzle it out, as it were, to see if it fits in your box. So I would take measurements first before buying this for the games you want to use it with. Just take some measurements and see if that works for you. And then, you know, if it does, that's great. Another pro is that if you have a game with an insert and you're tired of the game, you want to pass it on, then you're going to sell it with the insert, because that insert is going to be useless for you because it won't fit any other games. Now this one, of course, is an insert that stays with you, because you can simply take it out and use it for something else, and then sell the game and put everything in Ziploc bags again and use this for something else perhaps. And you can also split it up and divide it over multiple boxes if you want. So that is a pro. So yeah, there's some pros and some cons for this. But all in all, I think this is a very clever design. I like how it works. I like that it stacks. I like that you can kind of configure it into different shapes as well, like this or like this. And I like that you can split it up and just use it for multiple games, multiple smaller boxes, if you will. Or you could just have it sitting around somewhere and just take it to the table if you're playing whatever game, and just empty the Ziploc bags into these trays and play like that. That might be handy as well, especially if you have a game that you're going to be playing over a number of sessions. You can just leave this on the table with all the components inside. So that was the puzzle modular system by the Dicetroyers. I'd like to thank Dicetroyers for sending this over for me to review. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, because that really helps the channel. Also, please check out my Patreon page in the links below, or by clicking the icon at the end of this video, and that'll take you there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on Board Game Heaven.